Tonight on Business Live, Ghana National Tanker Drivers Association escalates ongoing strike to include drivers who transport all forms of petroleum products. More from some LPG outlets we visited.
I just want to fix my leaking gas.
But when you came, what are they saying?
The whole place is empty. I mean, I have gas. I have one empty cylinder and then one full. But it's leaking, so I just wanted them to check it for me.
But is the ongoing industrial strike justifiable? We will engage a petroleum strategist, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. Also, Center for Economic Finance and Inequality Studies calls for a review of e-levy to at least 0.25%. We'll hear from its executive director and senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah.
From where I'm sitting, I think that anything between 0.25 and 0.5 is what will likely do the trick for the ministry.
Plus, local authorities urge to support private sector in making continental free trade a success.
Insurance companies, transport and logistics companies would all work together to empower the private sector in Ghana to harness the full benefits of the AFCFT.
I am Beverly Broom. Please stay for details. Hello and welcome. The National Tankers Drivers Association has escalated its ongoing strike to include drivers who transport all forms of petroleum products. The strike, which began on Monday, saw drivers who transport mainly LPG abandoning their trucks in protest of their treatment by the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited and the National Petroleum Authority. James Ishen visits some LPG retail outlets and come through with this.
The Ghana National Tanker Drivers Association set-down strike entered the second day, with most LPG retail outlets still shutting down operations in solidarity to back their demand for good working conditions and fair treatment from the National Petroleum Authority and the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company. The tanker drivers claim they have been unhappy with the continuous ban on LPG stations and the construction since 2017. Sources say they've intensified their ongoing strike to include drivers who transport all forms of petroleum products. We earlier visited some gas refilling station in the country's capital, but as usual, gas station attendants were idle and not providing services and assistance to the customers. John visited the Anisette gas refilling plant in Awudome to check a gas cylinder leakage, but he's been turned away.
I just want to fix my leaking gas.
But when you came, what are they saying?
The whole place is empty. I mean, I have gas. I have one empty cylinder and then one full, but it's leaking. So I just wanted them to check it for me. So which means I can't even use my stove. At the Aveno refilling plant, we met Sam, a taxi driver who wanted to fill his cylinder, but unfortunately, he suffered same fate.
It affected me because one of the juma. That's a qua. That's a banner ni. Also, to me, share tankers no bois. Because them bas ebian me ba to bia me ba ya menye bi ha me pa ti esra ban say on hwe ho so asem mai na oman wide na say we su be kan wa and is bobu ti send yesre.
We're in day 2 of the Ghana National Tanker Drivers Association set-down strike, and right behind me you could see the metallic board still written no gas and no entry. As of yesterday, when we visited the same premises, we had the gate being open, but today it's been locked. We understand they've intensified the strike action this time. And what we are gathering is that other drivers transporting other petroleum products have also been asked to halt operations. So this is basically in solidarity with respect to the Tanker Driver Association set-down strike. Reporting for Joy Business, James Ishen.
Tonight, we want to dwell on the justification of the ban on new LPG outlets, and joining us via Zoom to do so is petroleum strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. Thank you so much for your time, Doc. Was the ban justified?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good evening to you and to your cherished viewers out there. Can you hear me, please?
I can.
Okay, thank you. If you look at what happened before the ban, one can say that the ban as a then was quite justifiable as an industry player. If you look at what happened prior to the incident that happened before the ban, we had a couple of incidents that happened, and that culminated into a major one that we had at Atomic Junction. Normally in the industry, whenever we have, incident of that nature, that result into loss of life, property, asset, environment, and other things. I mean, if you look at the risk assessment matrix, if you want to quantify it, it comes as the highest of severity. So yes, as at that time, the logical thing was to do, because it was quite repetitive, was to just put the ban on. But years down the line, I think there has to be engagement. Why the ban is still in place at the moment, one cannot tell. Because if you listen to the other party, that is the PSPs, the petroleum service provider, the LPG marketers, it means that what we are understanding is that they've done everything that is possible for them to do to get the license back to operate. But what is happening, why they are not allowed, to reconstruct their refilling outlet is something that we need to interrogate further. So, but if you look at technical point of view, yes, if safety protocols are not adhered to, I think the logical thing is that the regulator has the right, to ensure that, the protocols are adhered to. So I think what we need now is just engagement. They have to engage with the regulator, and I know a lot of work has been done in this regard. So I think what we need now is just to engage the two parties to make sure that we resolve that. Because the last thing we need is to create an artificial shortage of a commodity that is already becoming increasingly very expensive for consumer. Yeah.
But Doc, let us understand what's the industry's best practice in terms of safety protocols with regards to LPG handling.
Yeah. So if you look at if from where I sit, industry best practice. I'll be frank with you. If I look at the current model of operations of this particular outlet, there's a lot that needs to be done. But however, in industry, we have something we call ALAP, like as low as reasonably practicable. When you take measures, you look at the gains that you're going to get with respect to the measures. Is it disproportionate or is not disproportionate? Let's say banning complete ban on the usage of, this filling outlet. I think it shouldn't be the way to go. What we need to do is just to make sure that we put in controls, what we call control measures. It can be proactive, it can be reactive measures in place to make sure that we can still have our LPG supply to the consumers, at competitive rate. And I think, was it a knee-jerk reaction? I don't think it was. Like I enumerated in the beginning. What happened before the incident? This ban came on. This particular ban came in place. I think it was clear that we needed to have that particular, a bit of fallow period for us to reassess ourselves to see whether our safety protocols, we are adhering to them or not. So yes, the regulator has to engage them and then make sure that all safety protocols that are required to put in place are put in place, and so that they can be come back to. They can bring back services to the consumers. Yeah.
But what is the way forward for this?
Yeah. So yes, the way forward, I believe, is engagement, like I mentioned, because what I think is there is a kind of a fallow period that nobody knows what's going on. The regulator or the government has to engage these marketers to understand what is required of them to put in place in order for them to be given license to operate again. And I think also maybe some people were already given licenses. What we need to do is to probably come up with technical audits. If, let's say, we are not satisfied with whatever safety protocol that are put in place, let's come up with a technical audit team to re-audit these filling outlets to make sure that they adhere to 1, 2, 3, whatever safety protocol that we require of them. So, because at the end of the day, if we don't do that and we continue to leave this to become protracted, I think it's not in the best interest of the PSPs, and it's not in the best interest of the regulator also. But I think a lot of work has gone on in this area. We only need to make sure that we resolve it amicably. Yeah.
But what are the likely consequences of this protracted shortage or hold up?
Yeah, it's clear. The likely consequences are dire, especially to the environment. I don't think we will have to force consumers to have alternatives to LPG. Because at the moment, if you look at what is happening in the global energy space, I mean, we are gravitating to cleaner fuel. And I think LPG or gas is the credible replacement for heavy fuel hydrocarbon as we speak now. So if we leave it and it protected for an elongated period of time, and we allow the consumer to have an alternative. And what's the alternative here? The alternative is just to have firewood. And even that alternative may not be available may not be easily reachable for all. So yes, the consequences are dire, and then we just need to make sure that we find a lasting solution to that. Environmental-wise, yes, we might end up, going back to firewood, and you can imagine in the situation whereby we are moving to green energy, I mean, going back to firewood, I think it's detrimental to the environment. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. He's a petroleum strategist. Now, away from that, the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies, CFES, is calling for a review of e-levy to at least 0.25%. Now, this comes after accounting and auditing firm PwC called for a review of the rate to not more than 0.75%. Now, and their reason is government adjusted the e-levy revenue target by over 91% from 6.9 billion cedis to 600 million, and 3 months after its implementation accrued just 10% of that. Now, the executive director of CFES and senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, spoke earlier on the marketplace. Listen.
The review is absolutely in order, and the expectation is that as the rate is reduced, we'll get a lot more consumers to consume and make use of e-levy. But then again, in the mind of the policymaker, is it going to be a simple comeback for the consumer? And so if you call for review, that is okay, but you need to work out the numbers, simulate the numbers, and see what the likely behavioral response will be. And if even in natural fact, the 0.75% is what will draw most of the consumers back. From where I'm sitting, I think that anything between 0.25 and 0.5 is what will likely do the trick for the ministry. But then again, we have to be careful, because it's a behavioral thing. If you even reduce it to 0.25, and it happens that the response is not as what was anticipated, then it means that you have lost from that point of view. But again, you can gain by looking at it from the fact that once you reduce it to that level, chances are that a lot more people will come in, the digital economy will pick up, and then you can do the direct taxation of the digital economy to sort up or to supplement what you may have lost or you stand to lose out by reducing your e-levy from the current 1.5 to anything below the 0.75 that we are proposing to the state. But I must confess, it's not an easy thing to do. A lot of simulation must go behind the scenes before I believe that the policymakers can come to a conclusion on the appropriate rate to go for.
You're watching Business Live. Still to come in the bulletin, local authorities urge to support private sector in making continental free trade a success.
Insurance companies, transport and logistics companies would all work together to empower the private sector in Ghana to harness the full benefits of the EFCC.
Thanks for staying with us on Business Live. Now, municipal and metropolitan authorities are being urged to empower private sector institutions in their various assemblies and communities to support the work of government in making the Continental Free Trade Area a success. Minister for Trade and Industry Alan Kyerematen, who made the call, believes that the country can benefit immensely from the agreement if local authorities and the private sector collaborate in improving government policies towards the agreement. Now, the minister was speaking at the launch of the National After Policy Framework and Action Plan for boosting Ghana's trade with Africa. Here's a report.
The policy framework will serve as a guide for Ghana's implementation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Ghana has already taken the lead in exporting some products to other neighboring countries under the agreement since it kick-started in 2020. Speaking at the launch of the policy document and action plan for boosting Ghana's trade with Africa, Minister of Trade and Industry Alan Kyerematen called on local authorities to support efforts in empowering the private sector.
National After Policy Framework and Action Plan, which we are about to launch today, is based on inputs from a broad range of stakeholders from both the public and the private sectors. It is my wish, therefore, that the ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, together with such institutions such as banks, insurance companies, transport and logistics companies, would all work together to empower the private sector in Ghana to harness the full benefits of the AFCFTA.
Speaking on behalf of President Akufo-Addo, Minister of Information Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah assured the balance of payment and economic challenges experienced by African countries due to external factors can be resolved when the agreement becomes successful.
African countries cannot overcome the current economic challenges occasioned by the incidents of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war if we do not develop measures to improve the productive capacities of the private sector and increase intra-African trade. The effective operationalization of the AFCFTA agreement in Ghana would significantly boost Ghana's balance of trade, stimulate investment and innovation, diversify exports, improve food security, foster structural transformation, enhance economic growth, and above all, provide jobs for the Ghanaian youth.
So far, about 46 countries have ratified the agreement, paving way for trading.
The Department of Marine and Fisheries Sciences, together with the Institute of Environment and Sanitation Studies, both of the University of Ghana and the Helmholtz-Zentrum Heron Research Institute in Germany, have organized a workshop for stakeholders and the media on mangroves as a nature-based solution to coastal hazards in Eastern Ghana project in the Angloga district, Volta region. Our Volta regional correspondent Ivy Setoji has more in the following report.
The first in the series of engagements with stakeholders, which was held in the Angloga district, was aimed at encouraging stakeholders to support the reinvigoration of mangrove ecosystems and their associated services along the eastern coast of Ghana. The head of Development of Marine and Fisheries Sciences at the University of Ghana, Professor Francis Nunu, noted that success of that will help to improve coastal protection, reduce the influx of pollutants into coastal waters, increase carbon sequestration, and ultimately support the blue economy. He encouraged residents to go into mangrove farming.
Mangroves is very, very important to the people of this area and to Ghana as well. The key importance is about the fisheries. In this area, I believe that you know that most people fish. And the mangrove is a nursery area, like nursery area where most of the juveniles of fish are kept. When they go out there in the sea, there's predation and other big fishes eat them up. So when they are vulnerable, they are giving birth and all that, that is the area. Fishes go and spawn in the mangrove because of the link between the sea and the lagoon that we have here.
That's all for Business Live. Thank you so much for watching. You can visit myjoyonline.com/business for more business stories. My name is Beverly Broom. Enjoy the rest of our program.